Parshas Vaeira, Tavshin Ayin Daled. We're moving right along. We're going to discuss we're going to have the Parsha this week. We're going to discuss about being in Mitzrayim, the Makkos. So the year is moving right along, and this week is Shabbos Mevorchim Shvat. Also, if you can believe it, and it's a good thing that we have two others this year, because I don't know about you, I'm not so sure I'm ready for Hamantash and Adar Purim already. We're still feeling the effects of all those free donuts that they were giving out in Lakewood. But this week is Shabbos Mevorchim Shvat. Chazal tell us the Yalkut Shimoni in Hosea. B'zchus emuna nigalu avoseinu miMitzrayim. In the schus of emuna, we were redeemed. Our ancestors were redeemed from Mitzrayim. U'v'zchus emuna asidin lehi goel. In the schus of emuna, we got out of Mitzrayim, and it will be in the schus of emuna that Mashiach will come. The statement of the Yalkut Shimoni. And the Nesivos Shalom is medayik something very interesting on this Maimer Chazal, and he says that the lashon of bizchus, the lashon of zchus, can also allude to zachus, zach, something being clear, clarity. So the Nesivos Shalom wants to touch it even further. In the zchus of the clarity of Amunah, where, in other words, it's telling us something which it's not always easy to hear, that our Amunah can't just be Amunah. It has to be a clarity in Amunah. It has to be something that we work on and is constantly becoming more clear. In the schus of the clarity of the Amunah, there was a Geulas Mitzrayim. The Nesivos Shalom also points out that we know at the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, we know that Klal Yisrael was on a very, very low madrega. They had gone down into the Memtes Sharei Tumah, and they became very megusham. They weren't exactly on a very high spiritual level then. And the avoida of zikuch hamida, if we're talking about now, zikuch, if we're talking about clarity in midos, was not very high on the list of what Klal Yisrael was doing at that juncture. It really wasn't. But what did they have? What did Klal Yisrael have? They didn't have any other midas. They were in the Memtes Sharei Tumah. There was nothing else there. Yet Chazal are telling us that they had Emunah. And because they had Emunah, they were different. Emunah they had. Why did they have Emunah, Zok Nesivos Shalom? Because Emunah is ingrained into the nefesh of every Yid. It's something which, whether you like it or not, it's there. We are maminim b'nei maminim, and that's emunah. You're born with it, and your parents had it, and your grandparents had it, and your great grandparents, your ancestors, and it started all the way back by Avraham Avinu. And that's something which is in the nefesh of every Yid. And Zok Nesivos Shalom, any time a person wants to, you can work on yourself and reach for that emunah. And it's for that reason that davka, because of that midah, we were nigal. Because that's a midah that never leaves a yid. If you want to reach for it, and you want to work on it, and you want to get it, you always have the power to go back and get it. And at the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose us to become the Am HaNivchar, we were actually at a very low point. We were in a very low madrega. And just then, at that point, when we were in a very low madrega, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu call us? HaKadosh Baruch Hu called us, we saw in last week's parsha, B'ni B'chayri Yisrael. Could you imagine? We're in the Memtes Sharei Tumah. We're so low, and just at that point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls us B'ni B'chayri Yisrael, my children, B'chayri Yisrael. Why? Because we were left with one thing. We were left with Amunah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always looking for ways for us to come back. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw the one thing in us. We still had one thing left. We had Amunah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls us B'ni B'chayri Yisrael. We had one thing, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu went and found that one midah. And what was that midah? That was a clarity in Amunah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives this clarity, gives the power to do this to every single Jewish person. Whatever matzav you may be in at that point of your life, you can extricate yourself from that matzav with one thing, with emunah. And emunah is what gets you out of your own personal matzavim. Emunah is what takes you out. It took us out then from Mitzrayim, and it will take you out today from any matzav that you may be in. And the harder you work on your emunah, and the more clarity that you develop, that is how complete your personal geula will be. It's there, it's inside you, but it requires work. It requires us to understand what it means to be a Maimon. And for that you have to learn. You have to know, you have to study. Sometimes it's a very deep subject. But emunah is not something that's always so simple, but there is a simplicity about it where we know that it's there. Nesivos Shalom brings down the Gemara. The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, that when a person comes up to Shamayim, La'acha Mea Ve'esrim, so the Gemara says, Techilas Dinoi Shel Adam, the beginning of a din of a person, and every person is going to have to notice one day, Shoyal and Oisai. They ask the person, Asasav and Asata Be'emunah. So we understand that to mean, what everybody says the Gemara means, and what is this Maimer Chazal referring to? It means that they're going to ask you the first thing, were you honest in your business dealings? Were you honest in your dealings with other people? Nesivos Shalom says that we could translate that to be something a little deeper than that. We can ask, Nasasav and Nasata Be'emunah means, did you work on your emunah? Not just Nasasav and Nasata, did you have emunah and how you went about your business? Did you work on your emunah? And it's actually, we're not taking out the other pshat, because the Nesivos Shalom says, you look at it like this. You look at a person, did you work in your business? We know when you worked in your business, you threw yourself entirely into it. So that if we see that a person, you were such a big businessman, that when every opportunity you had, every free moment you had, you used all your koiches to put it into your business. So when you come up to Shamayim, they're gonna tell you, we know you know how to work. But did you also put that amount of work, be'emunah, into your emunah? Because that's the one important thing that a yid cannot be. You cannot be without your emunah. It's in you and you have to bring it out. The S.S.S. Hadibros begin with Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. In a couple of weeks we're going to read the portion of the S.S.S. Hadibros, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. And the Rambam says that this Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, that is mitzvahs emunah. First is Anoichi Hashem. What does Anoichi Hashem tell us? Anoichi Hashem tells us the emunah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boirei, Umanig, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the creator, and He alone runs everything in the world forever. That's Anoichi Hashem. That's the part of Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, that's Anoichi Hashem. And then there's the next step, says the Nesivos Shalom. There's the word Elokecha. Besides understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Boirei Umanig, the one who created and runs the entire universe, there's also Elokecha. A yid has to believe that a lot of people believe that there is a God. We have that emunah, there is a God, but you have to believe Elokecha. You have to believe that this God is your God, not some abstract thing. Yeah, there's a God out there, that's easy to say. Well, maybe not so easy, because not everybody believes that today either. But Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. You have to believe that He's your God, that Bonim Atem Lashem Elokechem. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our God and He's our Father. We paskin, the Gemara says that we paskin like Rab Meir, that bein kach u bein kach kruim bonim. That no matter where you're holding in your life, no matter what you're doing, bein kach u bein kach, today it's a nice song so everybody knows it, but bein kach u bein kach, no matter what matzav you're in, kruim bonim. No matter where you're holding, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is your Father. Chazal tell us on the Gemara says in Masechta Eruvin, Daf Yud Gimel, Amud Beis, that the name Rab Meir comes from Meir Einei Chachamim B'Halacha. That's where Rab Meir gets his name from. Either gave him his name at his bris, whatever. They talk about that. But they referred to Rab Meir as Meir Einei Chachamim B'Halacha. And which halacha are we talking about? We're talking about this halacha, that bein kach ubein kach kruyim bonim. And the Mepharshim talk about that usually in a machlokes Rav Meir, Rav Yehuda, the halacha is like Rav Yehuda, but over here halacha ke Rav Meir, bein kach ubein kach kruyim bonim. That over here, no matter what, the Nesivos Shalom brings down a Rashba, the Rashba in the Tshuvas and Chelik Aleph and Reish Mem Beis. The Rashba says that we have to know this and we have to carry the cross to ourselves. That Abbas Hashem to Klal Yisrael is without any tanoim. There's no conditions. When we say bein kach ubein kach, it means all the way. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for every single Yid has no conditions. So it's for this reason that the Pasuk says over there in the Aseres HaDibros, Anoichi Hashem Alekecha, Asher Hotzeisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. You ever wonder about that? Why does it say that I am Hashem your God that took you out of Mitzrayim? Why not Asher Barasi Es Ha'olam? Why do we say that Hashem is your God, I'm the God that took you out of Mitzrayim? Why not I'm a God who created the world? It's to teach us this lesson, says the Nesivos Shalom. That no matter how, quote, no matter how bad you've been, and no matter how low you may have gone, we see from there, Asher Hotzeisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu still took us out of Mitzrayim. Why? Because of Anochi Hashem. Because we had that midah, of emunah. We never forgot that we are maminim b'nei maminim. So that's why the Aseres HaDibros says, Asher Hotzeisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of Mitzrayim when you were in a very low matzav. The Nesivos Shalom says, very interesting, he says, what makes, sometimes you say, this Yid, it's a Zad Tzaddik, it's a big Tzaddik. What makes one person a Tzaddik more than another person? How do we gauge these things? Today, everybody, as soon as anybody, you write up on the signs, Harav, Hagoyin, Shlita, with 25 other letters and acronyms, and everybody's that. But what really makes a person a Tzaddik? What makes one person more of a Tzaddik than the other? Zok Nesivos Shalom, that what makes a person a bigger tzaddik than the other one, it's not knowing more, it's not being book smart. A lot of people can read books and rattle them off. It's your level of emunah. Emunah is what makes one person greater than the other. Emunah is what releases a person. It's what released us from Mitzrayim. And the Nesivos Shalom says, this is what releases each and every person from your own personal galus. Every person, aside from being in the galus where we are right now, physically, in Chutz La'aretz, where we're in galus until Mashiach comes, but each person has their own thing that sort of boxes them in, that locks them in. You have your own personal galus. And just when you think that you're not in control of yourself, just when you think that you're so boxed in and you're in this galus and you can't extricate yourself, you may have gone so low, you may have done so many things wrong, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us this midah and reminds us we have this midah of emunah to bring ourselves back. That you're never lost. Anochi Hashem Alekecha Asher Hotzeisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. Wherever you are, wherever matzav you're in, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still there for you. He's still there to bring you out. That's something we have to remember when we discuss now the Parshas of Mitzrayim, Shavuos, Vaeira, boy, we're going to get Mir Hashem by next week. We'll be running out of Mitzrayim already, baking matzahs. We have to remember that the Golus, this idea of Golus, boils down to every person, to every Yid. And by working on your Emunah, by thinking about Emunah, by bringing out our Emunah, we have the capability to take us out of Golus, of physical Golus. We have this opportunity to take us out of each person out of his own individual spiritual Golus.